Bilingual web magazine. Dig Tokyo. One. Prologue. In our Books on Business series so far, we've covered 16 must-read books on business, 16 books on self-development and business skills, mental health and resilience. For this article, I put together a list of 16 books on reading, thinking, and training your brain. These books tackle questions like why should you read, or what does it really mean to think, and how do you reinvigorate your brain and prime yourself to produce ideas, and offer great tips and insights for reading effectively and thinking logically. 2. Decline of Collective Intelligence by Ohmae Kenichi. Published in 2009 amidst the global financial crisis, Ohmae's main insight is that the failure of Yutori education has led to a marked decline in intelligence among young Japanese, which in turn has had a detrimental effect on Japan's competitiveness on the global stage. He argues that young people have become not only introverted and reluctant to do things, but indifferent and lethargic, and that they have basically given up on thinking for themselves because they expect to be able to easily obtain an answer to anything and everything. Ohmae offers tips for thinking proactively and lists the 3 weapons business people will need to be an active player on the global stage: English, ICT, finance. This book also became a bestseller in China, Taiwan, and South Korea. 3. Essentialism: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. The word essential means absolutely necessary or indispensable. We live in an age when many of us feel like we have so many things we want to do and have to do that we end up wasting time and getting nothing done in the end. McKeown argues that while we all fall into the trap of believing that all the tasks before us are essential, only 1% of those tasks are truly important. He offers concrete methods for properly identifying that 1%, strategically focusing your energy on those tasks, and getting results, what he calls essentialism. Ultimately, he says, that will not only help us improve the quality of our work, but help us lead more fulfilling lives. 4. 深く考える力, Thinking Deeply by Tasaka Hiroshi. Business books that promote logical thinking have become popular in recent years, but the author of this book argues that the act of building up a logical argument is only the first step in the process of thinking. He says that the most advanced form of thought is intuition, which goes beyond logical thinking. By intuition, he is referring not to our ability to decide whether we like or dislike something, but to our subconscious mind, which has access to all the information and memories that we have accumulated throughout our lives so far. Thinking deeply about something is different from thinking for long hours or thinking hard. Rather, it is having a conversation with your wise inner self through the process of reading and writing. 5. The Neuroscience of Mindfulness by Kugaya Akira. The latest brain science shows that parts of our brains remain busy at work even when we are just sitting there staring out into space. We are unable to get sufficient rest because our subconscious is still contending with our worries and anxieties. The author, a psychiatrist who has practiced in the United States for many years, explains how to rest our brains through mindfulness, a concept that has become all the rage among American celebrities in recent years. Mindfulness is a form of meditation where you focus single-mindedly on what you are doing in the moment, whether that is your breathing or the act of eating. The concentration can help suppress excessive brain activity and soothe the mind. 6. Why Do Global Elites Follow These Fundamentals? By Totsuka Takamasa. The author, a graduate of Harvard Business School who has worked for investment bank Goldman Sachs and consulting firm McKinsey & Company, has put together 48 fundamentals of work practiced by elite business people around the world. He offers concrete advice for getting the most out of every action and opportunity, from work to day-to-day activities, and how to channel it all toward personal growth and achievement. The lessons are basic, with nuggets like always arrive 10 minutes ahead of schedule and don't cheat by looking it up on the web, use your own brain. All the more reason why it's worth taking a moment to make sure that you're actually following them in your daily life. 7. All I Really Need to Know I Learned at the Bookstore by Takuya Senda. This primer on establishing productive reading habits is highly recommended for any Japanese readers who think of reading as a chore. The author speaks from experience. Until high school, the only books he'd read were manga comic books. He then got hooked on business books and self-improvement books and bought 10,000 books out of his own pocket. He writes about acquiring initiative, communication skills, study skills, work skills, money skills, and growth skills through books. In the final chapter, he offers tips for making the most of your next trip to the bookstore. Buy books with interesting forewords, and give each book 1 minute of your time and buy it if even one word piques your interest. 8. Organizational Hacks by Ryusuke Koyama. To hack means to cut or to clear a path. In computing, a hacker is someone with technical expertise on the inner workings of things like computer programs or networks, and who is able to modify said programs or networks in a skillful or clever way. In recent years, the term has been used in phrases like life hack to refer to strategies and techniques for managing your time and daily activities in an efficient way. This book offers basic organizational hacks that they don't teach you at school for better managing your daily life. 9. Even Bookshelves Have Rules by Naruke Makoto. There are many business books out there about the art of reading and reading strategies, and many about organizational hacks like the KonMari method or Danshari, a decluttering strategy that literally means refusal, disposal, and separation. But few that zero in on the bookshelf as a tool for making us more intelligent. The author says that a bookshelf should be constantly rejuvenated, with new replacing the old, one in, one out, so that it always has your attention. He also recommends dedicating some space to books that you plan on setting aside for the future you. I especially recommend this book to Japanese readers living in smaller living spaces who understand the value of a physical bookshelf in the digital era. 10. 自分の頭で考えよう. Use Your Own Brain by Chikirin. The author, a famous Japanese blogger, offers straightforward, easy-to-understand logical thinking techniques for exercising the brain and arriving at your own solutions. According to her, the act of thinking involves analyzing the information in your brain and organizing your findings on what she calls a thought shelf. That puts you in a position to be inspired and come up with ideas and creative solutions. She reminds us that the act of thinking is different from accumulating knowledge and churning out content. Highly recommended for those who find themselves satisfied after consulting Wikipedia for answers at every turn. 11. 読書力, Reading Ability by Saito Takashi. There are many business books out there that talk about what we can gain from reading. This book by Saito Takashi, a professor of education at Meiji University, focuses on the essence of reading, why we do it. His main argument, reading builds character. He writes passionately about how exposing yourself to diverse opinions and different values expands our worldview and teaches us to put our experiences in perspective, while growing your vocabulary and honing your ability to paraphrase helps you communicate more smoothly with others. At the end of the book is a list of 100 books he recommends, divided up into unique categories. 12. 論理トレーニング101題 101 Logical Training Questions by Noya Shigeki. If you've ever been told by a superior that your logic doesn't hold up, then this book is for you. There are many books out there that offer general tips about developing logical thinking skills, but this book by University of Tokyo philosophy professor Noya Shigeki is a workbook with 101 logical thinking problems. The book is divided into 2 parts. Part 1 focuses on conjunctions and texts, and tests your ability to understand the logical framework of an argument, while Part 2 is about the deductive logic and conjecture. The problems involve sentences taken from a variety of real-world sources, and detailed solutions are provided for each. Going through these exercises multiple times should help you identify logical errors and write clear, well-thought-out arguments. 13. The Art of Choosing by Sheena Iyengar. From choosing what drink to buy from the vending machine to choosing a partner for marriage, our lives are filled with innumerable choices, both big and small. Do we truly make our own decisions? How does the idea of choice differ between different cultures? This book turns to scientific studies to answer such questions and get to the heart of the notion of choice. The author's interest in choice comes from having been born to 2 Sikh parents who had met on their wedding day, and growing up in America, where the freedom to make your own choices is sacrosanct. The second, where she examines the arranged marriages and love marriages to see which results in happier, longer-lasting relationships, is a highlight. Highly recommended for those who feel like they are overwhelmed with so many choices in daily life that they freeze. 14. Start with Why by Simon Sink. The author contends that there are two types of leaders, those who manipulate others by wielding their authority, and those who inspire others with vision and passion. The former focuses on the what, sales figures and results, while the latter focuses on why. This book is recommended not just for business leaders, but for those who want to motivate themselves. After all, if you can't exercise leadership over yourself, how can you expect to exercise leadership over others? 15. 筋トレが最強のソリューションである. Weight training is the ultimate solution, by Testosterone. The author, a Twitter influencer with 1 million followers, contends that weight training can solve all of our worries. This book brings together the nuggets on weight training and proper nutrition that he has previously posted on social media. His message is that weight training improves your food and even allows you to experience small victories. By sticking to a regimen, you can put yourself in a position to excel at work, improve mental resilience, and even lift yourself up out of depression. A muscle-bound physique seems to be back in vogue here in Japan, with hit shows like Minna de Kinniku Taiso, Muscle Exercises for All on NHK, and the fervor over World Cup Rugby last year. 16. Leverage Reading by Honda Naoyuki. Leverage traditionally referred to the exertion of force by means of a lever. In finance, it has come to mean the use of credit or borrowed capital to increase the earning potential of shares. In recent years, it is being used to mean getting the largest result with minimal effort. The author is the president and CEO of a company called Leverage Consulting, and has written a number of books on the topic. He starts with the message that the act of buying books is akin to investing in yourself, and that you shouldn't hesitate to buy any books that you think you could learn something new from. He emphasizes the importance of reading proactively, with a purpose, and focusing on chapters that have the most to offer you. Finally, he stresses that it's only after you've taken what you've learned and successfully applied it in some way that you can say you've gotten your return on investment. 17. Kangu by Kato Masaharu. You can't expect any good ideas to come to you if all you do is sit in front of your computer all day. This book is about changing your head and body into an idea factory, and the author introduces a range of tools to do just that, from mind mapping and brainstorming to the 5 W's and how. If you're motivated, pretty much all the suggestions in this book can be put into practice today. Recommended for university students and those who are new to the workforce. 18. Epilogue. Each article in our Books on Business series so far is comprised of 16 books on a certain topic. It's up to the reader as to where to start, but for maximum gain, you'll want to work through the books until you've read all 16. Novels and poetry are invitations into richly imagined worlds and lives, and so occasionally you'll come across one book that completely changes your life. On the other hand, business books and so-called self-improvement books are different from literature. Instead of trying to carefully read and pick up every detail of a single book, you're better off selectively reading from a range of books on a certain subject. That could involve just reading the table of contents and the foreword and afterword, or just the chapters that appeal to you. Reading multiple books will give you a reference point from which to compare and contrast different ideas and suggestions. The key is to have a clear purpose in mind when you read. Why did you buy the book? Why are you reading the book? Unlike reading for leisure, reading as self-investment yields the best results when you read smartly. For example, Japanese business books often come with an obi, a strip of paper looped around the book, which usually states the book's mission statement in bold, colorful text. Read that carefully, and then read the table of contents carefully. If you find something that you want to read more about, imagine what that section's central message could be, what the author wants to say, before you actually read it. Not only is that a great way to train your brain, it's a great way to initiate a conversation of sorts with the book and its author. Books in the US usually don't have an obi, and the text on the front and back covers is mostly endorsements. In other words, the information is not particularly useful. In America, everyone is expected to have a strong opinion about everything. The covers and initial pages of books often feel like a battleground where critics and specialists fight to come up with the most distinctive endorsement. That being said, most business books that appear on the bestseller lists for major newspapers are worth a read. Also, most nonfiction books written in English are presented flatly, not unlike a textbook, with plain text filling page after page without any clear highlights. In the past, figures and pictures were all bunched together in the middle of a book in order to allow for easier printing, and you had to flip back and forth as you read to follow what the author was saying. Meanwhile, Japanese business books utilize bold font and underlining and italics to draw attention to the highlights of the text. They also frequently include section summaries and reviews that bring together the key takeaways of a chapter in one place for ease of consumption. Graphs and illustrations are designed to be easily understood. Often, I'll read the Japanese version of a business book by a foreign author and only read the English version if I find the insights particularly intriguing. The only thing is, because Japanese books are so user-friendly, the reader gets access to the fruits of the author's labor with only minimal effort. I often wonder if it's good for us that the answers are laid out in front of us so easily. In that sense, Japanese books are great at making you feel like you've learned something. That's why it's especially important to read proactively, with a clear purpose or hypothesis in mind. And by reading multiple books about a certain topic, you can begin to think deeply about that subject. Any single book is only the beginning. www.digtokyo.jp